Okay, so now our Liquitex stucco is all dry on our boulders, and the next step is to add some debris, some small rocks around the edge of these boulders. Um, Great sources of material for that, of course, is ballast for model railroad supplies, or small stones. And for small stones, a great supply of that stuff is aquarium supplies. I bought this bag of stones. It's a pretty nice bag. 5 pound bag for, what was it? $3.50 at an aquarium. Alright, so at an aquarium. I mean, at a pet store. You can also check out at discount stores like Walmart, etc. Anybody that sells, like, fish and stuff. They have small stones for aquariums. All right, so that's $3.50 worth, excuse me, of stones are going to last me pretty much forever. What I do is I take some of them out of the bag and I just put them in a container. I have one of these little pencil box type containers, and I sort them in there so that I can. Well, put them in there so I can sift through them and find the kind of the shapes and the sizes I want, whether I'm basing figures or doing something else. So I've actually already pulled out a few here. What I was looking for were, because this is kind of a jagged stone, I figure any runoff from these would be kind of jagged pieces. So I found some, jagged little pieces of stone. You really don't want to go overboard with this. You just want to give the piece a little bit more character with these kind of runoff stones. So what I do is I look for an area where, naturally I would think things might have, chipped off this or fallen off this over time. And I get my glue going, and then I just make a nice glop of glue at the edge of this structure. And I can either just drop some in or kind of plant them by hand as I'm doing now. Just get a variety of sizes of stones in there. Don't want it to look too uniform or it's funky. Alright, so again, I'm just kind of hand placing a few stones in there right into this particular area, just to suggest some over time some stones falling off this thing. You can also put a little bit even on top of the boulders where there's some crevices that you cut in, where you think there'd logically be some stones as well. Alright, and put them on top of the piece as such. Alright, so again, try to vary up the size of these so it has a very random appearance to it. You don't want it to look too awkward. Alright, in fact, I'm going to put another one down here just because I don't like I've got 3 up here. It's almost like a pattern. So just to break that up, I'm going to put another one down here just to give that randomness to it. Alright, so around these little boulders, I'm thinking there'd be some too, so I'm going to get in the crevices here and get around the edge and get some more stones going. In fact, I think I'll drop one in between the 2 boulders there. Alright, so basically what you've got is, some areas where you've kind of got some stones that have fallen off and so forth and so on. So that's kind of fun, just to give it a little more character. Got a couple more right here. Just, go, sometimes with terrain, to keep it random, you just gotta go by whimsy. You gotta say, oop, I think I'll put some there because it could look cool, and it's not a science. And if you try to make terrain making a science, what's going to happen is it's not going to look random. It's not going to look natural. It's going to look contrived. And you want to do the best you can to kind of give it that natural look. The best way to give it that natural look is just play it by ear. I mean, when you're building stuff, make it up as you go along. All right, and so basically all that remains as far as the building of this very simple terrain piece is just to put the basing material on it, my sand and kitty litter mixture, which I'm going to apply to the base of this. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, so I better mention it now, is that this is hardboard, but so that it blends with my terrain, I took some heavy grit sandpaper and I beveled this a little bit around the edge. So when I put it on my board, it's going to look nice. The other thing I want to mention is, right now, as you can see, I've got my Liquitex. Let me get a little zoom in there. I got my stucco texture on this. You might wonder if that's really going to come out looking okay. Well, it is. In fact, I went ahead and kind of pre-did a separate boulder for you so that you could see that the finished effect on these is really cool. Alright, so here's a boulder done in the same way. The only difference is this one isn't mounted on a terrain board. Alright, and if you can get a look at that texture and color, well, texture of this I should say, it's really cool. Alright, so it has a really neat stone look to it, and I just really like that. Alright, so I think that looks really neat. Again, you could just paint up the boulders, just paint up the styrofoam, and you'd be good to go, but I just think that's really a really neat look. Alright, so that's what all the stuff on this terrain board is going to look like, you know, when we're all done. So I'm pretty excited about that. Alright, so let's let those little stones dry. I might even add a few more off camera here, but then we'll talk about basing in just a second. So hang on there for just a minute. Okay, so this piece is ready to go. The only thing that is remaining is to apply some dirt texture around the boulders. So for that, I'm going to use Mod Podge, which is basically just a watered down glue. It's used as a kind of a matte sealer for art projects, but you could water down Elmer's glue or whatever for this, but I am just going to use this Mod Podge because it's great. Easy way to quickly put down some sticky stuff to apply your dirt texture to. So I'm just going to put it around the rocks here, okay, and apply that, and then I'm going to just show you a sample of what this is going to look like. If you've seen things like my what did I do this on last? On my rural homestead, I used a similar mix. So what I'm going to use is kind of a kitty litter and sand mixture. Alright, and I'm going to just simply, always good to do this over your sandbox, so to speak. I'm going to apply this, and then what happens is we start to get a nice dirt texture around these rocks. So I'm going to do that all around, and then we'll be done and ready for painting. Okay, so this piece is completely has a textured base. Alright, so this is a very simple piece. It's going to look pretty in a second once I paint it up, which I'll show in a separate video. But you know, again, we just started with some blue styrofoam, 2-inch thick blue styrofoam, carved it up a little bit, mainly with a steak knife, added some texture with the Liquitex stucco. Then we did some small rocks around the edges just to complete the look, and then we basically gave this a textured base with a sand and kitty litter mixture. So this is ready to go, and there are certainly variations we could do, but yeah, I'll get to crack and painting this up, and then we'll talk about the painted project in a separate video. But that's basically making your rocky, rough boulder terrain. So there you go. This is Garrison for Iron Kingdoms at War signing off. Happy wargaming, everybody.